Evening, friends, and thank you for being here with me tonight. We're going to talk about the mitochondria and our energy. Now, when people think about energy, they usually think about whether they feel tired or not tired. But energy affects far more than physical stamina. It affects how well we recover, how clearly we think, how resilient we feel, how stable we feel our moods are, how well we sleep, and even how motivated we feel to move through daily life. This is why low energy rarely stays isolated to just fatigue. People often begin noticing multiple things happening at once. They may feel mentally foggy, emotionally overwhelmed, less motivated than usual, less tolerant of exercise than usual, or like they never fully recover, no matter how much they rest. One of the most important things to understand is that the body does not operate as isolated systems. Energy production influences nearly everything the body does. And when energy becomes strained, symptoms often begin appearing across multiple systems at the same time. And that's why people can feel like their whole body has changed without understanding why everything suddenly feels harder. The first concept is one of the most important ideas in this entire series. Most people think their body is failing, broken, or simply not trying hard enough. But in many cases, the body is actually adapting to stress, overload, depletion, or ongoing demands that exceed its current capacity. The body is always trying to protect survival first. So when energy becomes limited, the body often begins conserving resources. It may slow metabolism, it may increase fatigue, disrupt recovery, reduce resilience, increase cravings, or affect sleep, or make people feel like they're constantly running on a low battery. Now, that doesn't necessarily mean the body is lazy or defective. It often means the system no longer feels safe spending energy freely. Think of it like your phone entering low power mode when the battery gets too depleted. Certain functions become reduced or less efficient because the system is trying to preserve what remains. This is why many people can feel exhausted, overwhelmed, inflamed, or unable to recover even when they're trying very hard to improve their health. The goal isn't forcing the body harder. It's understanding why the body began conserving energy in the first place. To understand why the body begins conserving energy, we first need to understand how important energy is to everything the body does. Now, in these series, I have two different types of slides. This one is a science slide that you can study on your own time. They will come after, the science slides will come after the numbered slides. Every single second of the day, your body is producing and using energy. Your brain uses energy to think, process information, regulate emotions, and your muscles use energy to move and maintain posture. Your immune system uses energy to monitor and respond to stressors. Digestion requires energy. Hormone production requires energy. Repair and recovery require energy. Even while sleeping, the body is still carrying out thousands of processes behind the scenes. Most people think of energy simply as whether they feel tired or awake, but energy production is actually one of the most fundamental jobs of the human body. Nearly everything the body does depends on it. When energy production is working well, people often feel more resilient. They recover more easily, and they tolerate stress better. Their thinking feels clearer, and their body feels more stable and adaptable. But when the body has been under chronic stress, overload, inflammation, nutrient depletion, poor sleep, or long-term demands, the body may begin struggling to keep up with those energy demands efficiently. And this is often when people begin noticing that something feels off. Maybe they wake up tired even after sleeping. Maybe small tasks suddenly feel overwhelming. Maybe exercise feels harder to recover from. Or maybe they feel mentally foggy, emotionally reactive, depleted, or unable to handle stress the way they used to. Some people begin relying heavily on caffeine just to function through the day. Others notice cravings increase, motivation drops, or feeling like their body simply can't maintain the pace it once could. The body may still be functioning, but it may no longer be functioning efficiently. And this is where mitochondria become important, because they are the little energy factories of the body. They help convert food, oxygen, and other nutrients into usable energy the body can actually work with. And when those systems are overwhelmed for long periods of time, the body may begin adapting by slowing output, conserving resources, and prioritizing survival over performance. So instead of asking, why am I lazy, or why can't I just push harder, a better question becomes, what is making energy production harder for my body right now? So we can start understanding something important. The body doesn't exist in isolation. Energy production is constantly responding to the environment the body is living in, including stress, sleep, nutrient status, movement, emotions, and overall physiological demand. For short periods of time, the body is incredibly adaptable. People can push through stress, and they can sleep less temporarily anyway. They can handle illness and emotional strain, travel, work pressure. But eventually, if demands continue exceeding recovery for long enough, the body may begin struggling to maintain the same level of output. And when I say output, I mean energy. Now, this is often gradual. At first, people may just notice they need more caffeine. Then recovery starts to become slower, sleep becomes lighter or less refreshing, cravings increase, brain fog becomes more noticeable, and small tasks can begin to feel disproportionate to your energy level. Eventually, many people reach a point where they feel like, I just don't feel like myself anymore. And what's important here is understanding that the body is not simply running out of willpower. Energy production itself may be under pressure. When mitochondria are exposed to ongoing stress, inflammation, poor recovery, nutrient depletion, blood sugar instability, environmental burden, or chronic overactivation for long periods of time, they may become less efficient at maintaining consistent energy output. The body then begins making trade-offs. Instead of prioritizing vitality and performance, it begins conserving resources. And this is why people can simultaneously feel tired but wired, exhausted but unable to sleep, mentally overwhelmed but physically depleted, and unable to recover from things they used to tolerate. The body is adapting to load, not because it wants to make your life difficult, but because it's trying to protect what resources remain. At a certain point, the body may stop trying to keep up with every demand at full capacity. Instead, it will begin conserving energy. And this is one of the most misunderstood parts of chronic fatigue and burnout and low resilience patterns. People often think, I just need more discipline. I need to push harder. I need more motivation. But many times the issue is not motivation. The issue is that the body has entered a conservation state. And when the body senses that resources are limited, it begins reallocating energy toward what it considers most essential for survival. Now, this can affect many different systems at the same time. People may notice lower physical stamina, slower recovery, increased sensitivity to stress, brain fog. Important. This is not always conscious. The body is making adaptive decisions behind the scenes based on what it believes it can safely sustain. And this is why some people feel temporarily better when they rest, sleep more, reduce their stress, nourish themselves better, or remove excessive demands from their lives. The body is constantly trying to regain balance and preserve function. In many cases, symptoms aren't random failures. They're signals that the body no longer feels capable of maintaining the previous level of demand safely. And this is why recovery often requires more than simply trying harder. It usually requires reducing unnecessary demand while rebuilding the body's ability to produce, tolerate, and recover energy more effectively again. So at this point, many people begin realizing something important. Recovery is not simply the absence of activity or rest. Many people assume recovery happens automatically when they rest, but recovery and rest are not always the same thing. A person can technically rest all day and still not truly recover. Real recovery requires the body to feel safe enough and nourished enough and supported enough to shift out of the survival-oriented energy conservation mode. And this is why some people sleep for 8 or 9 hours and still wake up exhausted. Their body may still be operating in a stressed, overloaded, or resource-conserving state behind the scenes. Recovery depends on many things working together. Depends on sleep quality and nervous system regulation, nourishment, blood sugar stability, inflammation levels, stress load, emotional strain, movement. When these systems are overwhelmed for long enough, the body may struggle to fully repair and recharge itself. And over time, people often begin feeling like they are constantly trying to catch up, physically, mentally, or emotionally. This is why recovery can't always be solved by simply pushing harder, exercising more aggressively, or relying only on stimulants to force energy temporarily. The body often needs signals of safety, nourishment, rhythm, and reduced overload before it becomes willing to spend energy more freely again. And this is where many people begin seeing improvement. not from forcing the body harder, but from helping the body feel supported enough to stop conserving every resource. The goal is not perfection. The goal is creating conditions where the body can gradually rebuild resilience, recovery capacity, and more stable energy production over time. As we start closing this discussion, I want to leave you with one of the most important ideas in this presentation. The goal isn't to become a perfect machine with unlimited energy, although that would be nice sometimes, right? On some days. The human body was never designed to function at maximum output all the time. And what most people actually need is not constant performance. They need resilience. They need a body that can adapt, recover, and tolerate normal life demands and regain balance after stress. And for many people struggling with fatigue and brain fog or feeling chronically overwhelmed, the answer is often not found in pushing harder against the body, but in understanding what the body has been responding to all along. Because symptoms often aren't random. They're information. They can reflect recovery deficits, cumulative stress load, inflammation, instability, depletion, unmet physiological needs. And once people begin understanding these patterns differently, they often stop viewing themselves as weak, lazy, broken, or failing. Instead, they begin recognizing that the body has been adapting the best way it knows how. This changes the conversation completely. Instead of how do I force myself to function, the question becomes how do I help my body feel safe enough, supported enough, and resourced enough to function better again. And that shift matters because long-term healing and resilience are usually built gradually through nourishment, recovery, rhythm, stress reduction, supportive habits, and restoring the body's ability to produce and tolerate energy more effectively over time. And perhaps more importantly, progress is possible. The body is adaptive, and adaptation can move in positive directions too. So thank you all for being here tonight and spending this time with me. I know many people dealing with chronic symptoms have often felt dismissed, overwhelmed, confused, or stuck in cycles of trial and error for a very long time and haven't gotten answers, and sometimes feel like you have to push harder, which is why I sound like a broken record about that. My hope tonight was simply to help make some of these patterns more understandable. Because when people finally understand that their symptoms may reflect physiology rather than personal failure, it often changes the way they begin approaching healing. The body follows patterns, and many of those patterns can be assessed, understood, and supported more clearly once we stop looking at symptoms in isolation. So if you feel like you've recognized yourself somewhere in tonight's discussion, the next step is not panic, it's clarity. That may look like functional testing, a clinical pattern review, improving recovery capacity, understanding stress physiology, identifying what your body may currently tolerate, or simply learning more about how these systems interact. You don't need to figure everything out tonight, and you don't need to force your body into healing. The goal is understanding the pattern first, then supporting the system appropriately. If you would like to continue, you can use the QR code on the screen to explore next steps, some educational resources and services on my website. And if questions came up during the presentation, I'd be happy to spend the remaining time discussing them together. And thank you again for being here.